Okay, we are live. Looks like we're live. All right, guys in the chat, let me know how everything is looking and sounding. Fact matter is, there's someone who is mowing the lawn at 6:30 p.m. right outside my window, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm hoping that they decide to go home at 6:30. So, you know, I'm going to take a few minutes, let people kind of roll into the chat here, talk about a couple things. Then I'm going to watch the direct. I think it was like, what, about 10 minutes? Give or take?
It wasn't long.
Not long, okay.
Somewhere around there.
So I'm then going to watch it because I haven't seen anything, right? Are they done? And by the way, guys, let me know if you can hear the lawnmower outside. Right now it's quiet, but if it's audible, just let me know. There's nothing I can do about it, but if you tell me you can't hear anything, it'll just make me feel better. And if you can hear something, yes, it'll make me feel worse, but it's the truth and I need to hear it. So that's fine. But yeah, we're gonna be watching this direct real quick here to like just start things off, so you guys can see my reaction right in the moment. Shifty's already seen it because you weren't working, right? Or were you working and still watched
it? Not today, no.
Okay, all right, lucky you. So I had to work, so you know, there you go. Oh, look, there's people in the chat already. Great. Yeah, I had to work, so we're gonna watch it now, but then we're gonna talk about it afterwards, and hopefully it's good, because then that would suck, but I think it'll be fine. In the meanwhile, I'm gonna just let people roll into the chat here. I'll say my greetings. AB James, this looks better suited if it was a new 3D Mario game. I mean, I talked about that yesterday. If it was a game, damn. I mean, it looks like, you know, like the Dream Mario game, but this is a movie, right? So it's obviously gonna be different. But I'm very optimistic. Robeerto actually had low expectations, but the trailer just blew my mind. Well, that sounds pretty awesome to me. Thomas Owen, I reckon the movie will be fun. D.E. Fox, you're here. You already saw the trailer, but you're going to keep your mouth shut. I appreciate that. Don't spoil me yet, guys. Let me spoil myself in just a couple minutes here. I'm just letting people roll in, going through the chat. Awesome Aubrey, hello there. Having Hope 5, hello. Varen Verby, hello there. Bethany, hey, what's up? Amber Abalama, nope. Having Hope 5, you can hear me fine. So you guys can't hear the lawnmower. That, you know, that makes me very happy. And if you're lying about it, I appreciate that. Oh, Bethany, you can hear it. Well, thank you for telling me the truth. Or lying about it to make me feel worse. Either way is fine. Dynaminx, more hype for Andres' reaction than the actual trailer. Are you trying to tell me the trailer was bad? Or are you trying to tell me that my reaction is just going to be absurd? So, we'll see. Canuckled, let's not spoil it for him. Yeah, don't spoil it for me. I know the longer I sort of like hang out in the chat, someone's gonna come in and be like, "Ah, well, guess what? Luigi's dead." But like, you know, I'm kind of like playing with fire here. But I just want to let people roll in. And you know, you sent me number 44 on trending. Cool. You sent me the direct, but it was streamed. So what I was curious on is if are they gonna just upload like the cut version soon, or are they just gonna have this 45-minute thing where the first 30-ish minutes are like?
I'm sure there's a much smaller or cut version. I sent you the one that was like the quickest uploaded, I guess.
Yeah.
But if you want, I could find the, I guess, better version, if you want to call it
the
that.
Only reason I bring it up is just because sometimes when you watch something that's streamed, after a little while, it'll be taken down. So I'll be watching the direct, and it'll cut off midway. Unless this is just what they're going to... I don't think they're going to leave this, because like it's literally like, I'm looking here, I'm scrolling through, like it's like 30-ish minutes. Yeah, they don't start to like 30, almost 35 minutes in. And then there's like 10 minutes of actual show. So, you know...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can get it for you.
Okay. If you can't, it's probably fine. I mean, I think, you know.
No, I'm pretty sure I can, because by now everyone's uploaded this thing everywhere.
Yeah, it's been what, almost 2 hours.
Yeah, so it's more than enough time. I gave you like the more, I guess, stream archive.
Yeah. Kieran Buckley, can I ask a question that isn't related to the Mario movie? You, for damn sure you can. I don't care. Unless it's my credit card number. Then I'll only tell you part of it. J.R.R. Tolkien, I really didn't expect the Master Chief to be in this movie driving an F-Zero thing. Yeah, here we are. Oh, man. Were they racing alongside Daffy Duck? Canuck Club. Cut versions available from Universal, I think. Sweet Ride, you haven't watched it yet?
Yeah, I sent you a version of it.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and watch this. And I think enough people are in the chat that we can just kind of roll into this. Okay, I see that.
That's the... I don't know if you care about which particular channel uploaded it, but there's a bunch like uploaded.
Well, that's just a trailer. Is the direct have anything important?
There is some conversation.
Okay, we're just gonna watch that one just because, you know, they're gonna say some things. Yeah, they're gonna say some things, and you know how I am. I'll extrapolate things that don't exist from their words. All right, cool. So I'm gonna put it up for you guys so you can see my. I'm gonna change scenes here. Give me a second. All right, here we go. Okay, you should be able to hear the audio. If not, let me know, guys. I will fix that. Okay, is it playing? Yeah, it is playing. It's just all right. It's gonna start. All right, it's gonna start any second now. All right, here we go. Oh, babe, can you guys hear it? Let me know if you can hear it. Yeah, you guys can hear it. Bye-bye annotations.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shigeru Miyamoto. As we previously mentioned, in today's Nintendo Direct, we'll reveal the first trailer for the Super Mario Bros. Animated movie for the very first time. This Nintendo Direct is also being broadcast simultaneously at New York Comic Con. Hello, New York Comic Con. It's been nearly 40 years since the original
I
Mario
might get
Brothers
flagged.
game
I
was
thought about
released
it.
in Japan.
Maybe.
Today, lots of people around the world are playing Mario games.
I hope not, though.
Thank you all so much. Finally, the world of Super Mario Bros. Will become an animated movie. We've been working on this movie together with Chris Meledandri from Illumination for a long time.
I want to tell me how
all
long?
the way through production.
17 years.
The time flew by as we were having
It's been
fun
like at least half a decade.
how to depict the Super Mario characters and world. Now, I'd like to hear from Chris-san, my good friend and great partner for the movie.
Nintendo Cove. I'm not slacking. I was working. I couldn't watch it yet.
I am speaking on behalf of our directors, Michael Jelinek, Aaron Horvath, and the entire Illumination crew of artists when I tell you that producing the Super Mario Bros. Movie with you and your team at Nintendo has been an absolute privilege. Our crew is filled with Mario fanatics.
Good.
And they're bringing
So
the
that's what you
very
need.
best of their talent to this film every day. Next week, we complete animation.
Ooh,
We're knee-deep into lighting and compositing.
that's crazy.
Composer Brian Tyler heads to the scoring stage in just 11 days. He's been working hand-in-hand with Koji Kondo to integrate classic themes from the game.
He's
into
working
the
with
film's
Koji
score.
Kondo? Seriously?
Miyamoto-san, it's been over 7 years since we first
So it's gonna be
started
legit
talking about
Mario
making
music
this
in here.
movie together. And it is thrilling to finally be here to show the very first look at footage with Mario fans at Nintendo Direct and at New York Comic Con. Miyamoto-san, shall we go ahead and introduce some of our cast?
Okay, Chris-san.
Okay.
Now, I'll introduce
I got
two of the
goosebumps
stars
already.
from this movie.
I can't contain myself.
Both of them love Nintendo games and made this into a really fun movie.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Oh, what?
Growing up,
Okay.
man, I
knew
spent
that.
hours of my life stomping Koopas in the original Mario Brothers arcade game at my local laundromat. And then, of course, it came out on Nintendo, and I played that, maybe years of my life. It's an honor truly to be able to speak to the man who created those memories for me. And it's an honor to work alongside him. It's been a lifelong dream of mine to become Mario. That dream, like all dreams, faces one critical challenge. As in the film, I must face off against an utterly ruthless scene stealer. Every great hero needs a diabolical enemy, and I promise you, I could not have been paired with the more perfect king of the Koopas,
Jack Black.
Bowser, and my friend, the great and hilarious, supremely talented Mr. Jack Black.
I like Chris Pratt, by the way. I think he's
Chris,
great.
But I can't let you have all the fun.
Jablinski
Now it's time for us
Games.
to make this moment all about me.
My favorite YouTuber.
Well, you've been dreaming about playing
Hey,
Mario.
what about me?
I've been preparing. Look at all this
You're up
purple
there,
muscle
you're up
I
there.
packed.
Okay.
And this flowing mane
I
doesn't
love
just
that
appear
shirt.
overnight. Do you have any idea how long it took me to learn how to breathe fire? I had to go learn it from Gene Simmons of Kiss. And all this hard work's been worth it, though. I am so proud to have been able to collaborate with you and Miyamoto-san, as well as the entire Nintendo and Illumination team on this cinematic experience, one that will make its mark on Mario fandom forever. Much love. Peace
Okay.
out.
Thank you, Chris-san, Jack-san. All right then. Thank you all for waiting. Let's press the start button.
All right, here we go. Oh man, am I gonna be disappointed? I love how they
I
made
want to
the
thank
Luigi
all of
scene
you
creepy.
for being part of this moment with us, and we're excited
Or
to share
scary.
even more footage in the coming months.
I'm looking forward to it too. What do you think will happen during Mario's adventure in the Mushroom Kingdom? Production of the movie is going well. Currently, like with any Nintendo game, we're working on the finishing touches. I hope you're looking forward to the next trailer. It'll be a great experience watching the Super Mario Bros. Movie in movie theaters. You'll get to see the Mushroom Kingdom on the big screen. Look closely and you'll spot things in all sorts of places. This film can be enjoyed by people of all ages, so I hope you'll get to a movie theater and cheer for Mario.
Sure.
That's all for today. We'll see you next spring in movie theaters. Thank you.
All right. So, for those of you who are concerned that I might get a copyright block, well, I got news for you. Warning, heads up, we've detected copyrighted audio and video in your stream.
Oh, what?
Your stream may be temporarily blocked. So,
That's... Wow, that was fast.
yeah. I don't know how bad it is because you guys are still here watching. So, we'll see. I don't know. What may I don't know because we're still live. I don't know how it works. People are still seeing it, right? So
Yeah, I'm still seeing it on my end.
this is the thing I hate about whenever Nintendo, like if it's something Nintendo, it's never an issue, right? Like you can watch anything Nintendo, it'll never be an issue. What happens though is that when they partner with other companies, those other companies will still put claims on stuff. So for example, whenever there's a Nintendo Direct that's about games and they show off Just Dance 76 or whatever, it's always a Just Dance segment. Because Ubisoft will claim, I don't even think it's Ubisoft. It'll be like the music that they used in there. It'll be copyrighted from someone else. Someone will be like, oh my God, that's my music in this trailer for a game for a company that's partnering with this bigger company in this a small segment of this show that's not really that significant. But they'll copyright that, but everything else in the show will be totally fine. So I don't know how bad it is. It's probably fine because we're still here. So, whatever. Anyways. I'll worry about that later. It's probably not even a strike. Actually, I mean, it's still, the warning's gone, so I don't know. Yeah, so let me change the scene here. Okay. So, I wanted it to be a lot longer.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when it's a movie, the movie's only going to be what? I mean, let's say minimum 90 minutes, at most 2.5, because it's more of a kids-oriented movie. It's probably not going to be even that long, right? It's probably going to... I mean, how long are Illumination movies usually? Like, I'm assuming...
I'm not even sure, because I've only ever seen Despicable Me. I've never seen any of their other movies.
So, Despicable Me length. Let's just, just to get an idea. An hour and a half, right? Like, like 90 minutes. Like, Despicable Me 2. I don't know. What's the length of that one? An hour and 38 minutes. So I'm just going to assume that, like, the movie's going to be at least 90 minutes long. It's not going to be that long. The main point I'm trying to make here is that in general with movies, right, as opposed to like video games that can last for hundreds of hours, you're not going to give like a 15-minute, you're not going to show off 15 minutes of footage, right? You're going to show off, you want to excite people as much as you can without showing off as much as you could, because you're giving away the goods. Why even go watch the movie if you've seen everything? And on that note, while they didn't show off a lot, they did show off enough to make me believe, okay, one, the voice acting, while it is something that's like, it's not like, oh my god, that's Bowser, that's Mario, it's close enough to where I'm like, okay, I can watch this and suspend my disbelief. So I think that's fine. Otherwise, you need to have voice acting in the movie, right? For like, so it's the better of two evils, right? Have voice acting that we can get used to, as opposed to no voice acting where it's just kind of weird. So on that angle, from what I've seen so far, I really don't have a problem with it, and I think I could actually like grow to like it. Like cinematically or visually speaking, it's all striking. It all looks amazing. Like I think it looks really good. So I don't really have any qualms with that at all. And I'm very curious how the plot's going to come together. We'll kind of maybe sift through this a little bit when we jump into the discussion. I'm just kind of giving you guys like my immediate thoughts. One thing they did great that a lot of movie trailers sort of fail on is that when you get a movie trailer, you ever like watch a movie trailer and you feel like you've like seen the movie already? Because they'll just give you a whole bunch of shots and like tell you what's going on. It's like, oh, there it is, right? Like, this didn't do that. Like, we don't know what the plot is, really. We just know, okay, there's Bowser and Mario's exploring. And given that it's, if you've played Mario before, you're going to assume, okay, Mario's on an adventure with this Toad and Bowser's wreaking havoc. Like, yeah, that's the basic premise, but it's not like they showed us a whole bunch of scenes from different parts of the movie where we see the whole adventure. So I actually think they did a good job of sort of teasing us in a teaser. And I'm in a position right now where I feel like I have to connect the dots. Other trailers will for other movies will leave you in a position where you can probably easily connect the dots. I can't connect the dots. Like, I don't know what takes Mario from where he was to the Mushroom Kingdom where he's with Toad, right? I don't know at what point is Bowser like just, waging war on these penguins and stealing the star. And I have no idea like where Luigi falls in all of this when he's getting chased into that castle, right? Like, these are all three different events, and I don't know how they connect necessarily. So my point is, I think it was actually a pretty solid teaser trailer. Like, it's a good trailer. I think they did a great job with it. So I think, really, I have no criticisms. The only criticism I have is not even a criticism. It's just that the voice acting doesn't strike me as magically amazing, but I don't think it ever could have. So really, I think they've pretty much done it as good as they possibly could have. Those are my initial thoughts. What did you think, Shifty?
I'm pretty much with you for the most part. I think the only time in that trailer I had any kind of I don't want to say negative, but almost like a lukewarm reaction to was hearing Chris Pratt as Mario for the first time. I think that's the only voice that didn't quite hit the mark for me. I can believe Keegan-Michael Key as Toad. I can believe Jack Black as Bowser. Like, they did a pretty good
Charlie Day as Luigi too.
Right.
Like,
but
I can
at
see
least
that.
with Charlie Day, we didn't get much. We got Luigi yelling, I think. So
Yeah.
it was like a scream he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to see more from Charlie Day. I want to see how his performance comes off later on as we see more of the movie. But I think Chris Pratt was the only one that kind of struck me as weird or odd in some way.
Okay. Do you think it's so odd that you can't get used to it? Or do you think it's just kind of like
it's not bad voice acting. It's just, it doesn't feel like he's trying to be Mario. It feels like he's just talking as himself, So maybe I could get used to it because technically speaking, the voice acting isn't horrible or bad. It's just not what I expected to hear coming out of Mario. But I can believe Bowser and Toad. I think they did pretty good impressions of them where I can kind of believe it, I think Mario's the only one I'm not too sure on. That one, I'm going to need more time to get used to that one.
When there's a part where Mario was kind of bouncing through the mushrooms with Toad, like, and I almost kind of thought he was going to go like the Italian accent for a moment, for like a brief moment. Tamale Muncher saying I got Brooklyn vibes out of Mario. Honestly, I'm okay with him not putting on an accent, and that mainly comes down like to like how I was like taught how to act, right? Which is basically living truthfully under imaginary circumstances, right? So you live in that sort of school of thought for acting. Basically, how I would explain it is you are yourself, right? But you put yourself in imaginary circumstances. So with that in mind, I'm okay with him being him under these imaginary circumstances. Now, ultimately it comes down to how he allows those imaginary circumstances to, you know, sort of like cultivate his character. You know what I mean? Like, just let me give an example, right? Let's say I were to play a role, right? And in this role, let's say I'm trying to think. Let's say I'm Frodo, right, from Lord of the Rings. Okay.
Okay.
The imaginary circumstances for Frodo, it obviously depends at what point he is in the story. But if you're talking about from the very beginning, he's lived a very peaceful life. He's not accustomed to the dangers of the outside world, right? He's somewhat vaguely aware that beyond the Shire, you know, maybe shit can go down, you know, but his life has been a mostly peaceful, tranquil life. It's been a fairly carefree life, right? So it kind of, with those imaginary circumstances, when you come across those events, right, like perhaps when you do finally go out on an adventure and you're getting chased by these evil wraith ghost things, that's even more shocking, you know? But at the same time, maybe because you're not so used to the outside world, there's a little bit more of a question because you're still kind of learning about the outside world at the same time. I hope I'm making sense here. Just what I'm trying to say is just I'm okay with him being himself, but I also think we also saw kind of like just like a small snippet, and I think it's one of those things where we have a certain expectation of what Mario should sound like, and we only got just a few moments, right? I think that if we actually watch the movie, or if we get a little bit more footage where he has more of an opportunity to kind of show off who he is in that role, I think a lot more people are going to be more comfortable with it. It's just going to take some time. And I think the good news is it's not like blatantly bad either, you know? Like, and I think that's something that most people can agree with. It's not like you hear it and you're like, oh my God, that's just the most worst thing I've ever heard. It's just, okay, there's this person playing as Mario.
Right.
But on that note, you know, it is important because you also want to be able to suspend your disbelief, right? And I think that is maybe something that I found a little bit, if I have to come up with a criticism for the trailer, it does ultimately come down to the voice acting. Not that I think it's bad, but my suspension of disbelief wasn't all there. I think, though, you know, if I was given a little bit more time, I probably could fully buy in.
Yeah, I think on my end, it was like kind of similar to what you're feeling, where it's the voice acting, but the voice acting at its worst is fine. You know, it doesn't ever get to a point where it feels awful or bad, you know? At its worst, it's fine. And I think fine is all I can really say for Chris Pratt, primarily because he spoke 9 words, I think, in the whole trailer. So it's like really not much to go off of. So I'm open to thinking that, you know, as more trailers release, or maybe when I finally watch the movie, that I'll probably get used to it over time. I think just Bowser and Toad sounded really good. I really like how they sounded. But yeah, visually, I think it looks great. I don't remember seeing an Illumination film that looks that gorgeous to me. Maybe there has been. I haven't watched all of their movies, obviously, but
I mean, you look at the poster, right? Like, I think the poster looks better than the movie. But that could be just like a really good looking shot of it, you know? It's not that anything in the movie looked bad, just the poster shows off so much you're like, damn. But I mean, I feel like the movie almost has like a little bit. It's obviously not realistic, but it has a little bit more of a grittier, pseudo-realistic look compared to other Illumination movies. Like just Google like Despicable Me and then look at the texture detail in that and then compare it to what you see in the Mario movie. Like there's a stark difference there. Like there's definitely more detailed like character models and areas. So I definitely think they're going for a more detailed look, and there is like it's not realistic, but maybe there's like an air of realism. I guess the term I'm looking for is like surreal, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
there's an air of. I'm gonna stick with what I said initially. There's an air of realism, but it's obviously a fantasy world.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're talking about. Like looking at it, like you don't really see that kind of detail in like let's say Gru's jacket in Despicable Me.
Mm-hmm.
I think the closest you probably get to that is looking at like the Minion overalls. I want to say
they took the Minion overalls and they made that Mario's.
You know what? Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah,
maybe because I feel like you don't really see the stitching of like most characters in Illumination films, and other than the Minions, I could see the stitching because they're wearing what I guess is like jean overalls, and that's not far off of what Mario wears. So maybe that's what they did. I don't know, but I do kind of see what you're talking about. But how do you feel about how Mario looks at like overall design wise? Because we kind of see like there's a difference to it, but I don't think it's bad. Like I think it actually looks a lot better than I was expecting it to look.
Yeah, I'm like scared to play the trailer again, so I want to like look through it, but I also don't want to double copyright strike myself.
Right.
I think what's gonna happen is that once the stream goes up, they're just gonna force me to cut it out from the direct, from the stream, which it'll be okay. I'll just put a note. All right, I'm trying to like get to like screenshots so I can kind of. All right, I'm going frame by frame. Like I was curious what that ice city was, right? And it's the penguins, which so that's already really cool. The fact that we're seeing, I think I would be able to screen share frames. I don't think that's gonna be a problem. I really doubt it. So if so, I guess this video is just not gonna last forever. So watch every second of it. Am I still going frame by frame? That's because I stopped. No, stop playing! Stop it! Okay. Alright, I'm going frame by frame. It's very slow. Yeah, it's too slow for my liking. But like that, anyway, I guess the first point I want to make is just like this ice city. I don't think we've ever seen this before in any Mario game that I can think of. Now I haven't played every single one. I play the mainline ones and I play some of the spin-offs, but I mean, can you think of this in any Mario game that we've seen before? A city for the penguins? Like the penguins weren't even like considered like an intelligent race. Yes, in Mario 64 there was dialogue with the penguins. So, I could see where they can make that leap, but I never like envisioned that they would have a whole like civilization, kingdom, castle with a king and an army, Yeah.
I think this is basically just something they made up to have the setup for the plot. Show as a way to show Bowser being like this threatening force in this world. Even if the penguins fought with snowballs.
That was funny. It was cute.
Yeah, it was cute. I think the idea is just to show Bowser in like what kind of threat he is, and I could see this being the beginning of the movie, or at least the beginning of when they introduce Bowser specifically. But I don't remember any. I mean,
it feels like an opening segment, but you never really know where they're gonna place that, right?
Yeah, like this could easily be a scene that follows a conversation talking about Bowser, right? Not necessarily the beginning of the film.
Yeah. It's tough to say. The opening scene could be Mario in New Donk City or Brooklyn.
I'm very curious to see how they would make Brooklyn look. In this.
Yeah. Let me say they can kind of skip to some of the. Well, first off, let me just say this could be right here. This could be a reference to like when they show Bowser off in Melee for the first time. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, with the flames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess like maybe like the minions in Despicable Me, like they're just taking like this character where there's a whole bunch of them, but adding like individual personalities to each one, and like we kind of see that here, and I think it looks great.
Yeah, like I like that they made that one Koopa scared while the other one just has an eye patch. And
He's like this badass.
Yeah, like he has the rookie next to him while he has like the experienced veteran to his
Yeah,
side.
it was a nice contrast, and that's a beautiful shot of Bowser. And it just kind of goes back to the point we were talking about earlier. Like there's definitely like a level of detail here that you don't see in other animated movies. Like it's not even just like the scales and the lighting, but it's also like look at the fur, right? Like there's like it's not just, you know what I mean? Like it's not just one texture. There's a lot of variety to his design here that it kind of just adds overall to his look. By the way, Bowser needs to look this good in the next Mario game. Just saying.
We can hope. We can certainly hope.
Is it a stretch? I mean,
I guess it depends on the hardware, right? Like how much of a jump we get, right?
I mean, if the next Switch is like PS4 Plus level, I think that's reasonable. Maybe not at 4K 60 FPS, but you know.
Yeah, because this is very high quality, considering that this is going to be in a movie that's, what, like maybe 90 minutes, like you said?
Do you think the movie's going to be in 4K? Or Nintendo's will be like, we don't do 4K.
Can you imagine the person who purchases this movie, like a physical copy of this movie on their PlayStation?
That's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen. And you're going to have Mario on your PlayStation, technically.
I mean, remember, what was that, that game maker that Dreams? Was that what it's called?
Oh yeah,
where
yeah.
like all the popular like makes were of like different Nintendo games, and then Nintendo was like, "Hey, stop." So then Sony had to block those.
Could you imagine this movie coming out for someone to buy physically, and they only sell it in Switch cartridges?
Nintendo would lose out on a lot of money.
They would, but
yeah.
it'd be
the other thing is
that
that like I don't think physical sales for movies are even really like a big part of the market anymore, right? It's streaming, right? So there's gonna be deals.
Yeah.
I wonder what streaming platform will have it on. Like obviously you're gonna probably be able to rent it like on YouTube and stuff, but I wonder what platform they would put it on. Definitely not Disney Plus.
No.
Maybe like HBO.
I want to say
where
either
are the
HBO
Despicable
or
Me
Netflix.
movies?
I have no idea.
Right?
Yeah, I have no idea. The only reason why I would say HBO Max or Netflix, because Netflix seems to have a bit of a interest in video game adaptations.
Yeah,
because they have The Witcher, Castlevania,
yeah, but
Cyberpunk.
I think, they're the. I mean, I'm not sure how the distribution is going to work out. This is kind of uncharted territory because, like, you know, it's Nintendo and then also Illumination. I know there was. I think that it wasn't just a rumor. Like it came out that Nintendo was working with Netflix on something Zelda related, but then like it got leaked, and then they're like, "Hey, yeah, no, we're not going to work with you anymore." Like it got leaked very early on. They're like, "Nope, sorry, bye." That's a story. I think there might be some information lost in translation there, but like they may have never even been committed, you know, and they were still mulling it over.
So I just Googled really quick where you can watch Despicable Me.
Yeah.
On a streaming service, and it seems to be just Netflix.
Okay.
So maybe Netflix, although it looks like it's getting off of Netflix at the end of the month. So
that's tough to say then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about when the movie's gonna be available for like digital. But something that's interesting about the actual Mario movie poster is that can I show you guys? Yeah, I probably can. Is that on the poster? It says only in theaters, April 7th. Now, there's two different ways to interpret that. One, you could interpret that as, oh, so the movie's only going to be in theaters for one day. Or you could interpret it as it's only going to be available starting on April 7th in theaters. Yeah, you guys can see that on stream. See how it says only in theaters April 7th? I think this here is huge because it's like, hey, we're not going to do that thing where you're going to be able to watch it from home day one. No, you're going to have to come to theaters. And I know some people may not like that. I personally love it. But that's only because I'm really excited for this movie. And I think that's maybe a little bit of a double standard because there are some movies that I will be like, oh, yeah, it's in theaters. I think I'll just wait to watch it digitally, you know? But there's other movies where I'm like, no, I really want to see this in theaters because there's like that cinema experience. So it's kind of interesting how they felt like making that distinction. So for those curious, do not expect this to be available like on Netflix or Hulu or YouTube for renting or what have you day one on April 7th. No, it's probably going to come out a few months later everywhere, wherever we will be able to watch it.
Right. It really depends on what deal they would have with whatever streaming service it is. Because if I remember correctly, The Batman was a film that released, and I think the month after it ended up on HBO Max. So it can be a month later for all you know, but actually, it's definitely going to be a...
You know what was also a good movie to look at in terms of like where you can watch it? Detective Pikachu. Because Nintendo partially owns that too. Now, obviously, Pokemon has to worry about that as well, and then I don't even know who helped out with Detective Pikachu from producing Legendary Pictures. Hulu, you can watch that on Hulu. So it's interesting that's on Detective Pikachu's on Hulu. Was it ever on Netflix? I feel like it was.
I think it was. I feel like I remember seeing it there before.
It depends on which country, but it has been available at some point or another. I don't know. Netflix has also been losing a lot as of late. So what was possible in 2019 may not be possible in 2022.
Yeah, I think it used to be on Netflix. I'm not entirely sure. I want to say my bet is that it'll show up on Netflix eventually. Unless HBO ends up having a deal kind of similar to the Batman. But even then, I think in HBO's case, they have a deal, or they have a good relationship with DC. I don't know if it's the same company or something like that, but they seem to always have a good relationship with DC. So maybe that's why that happened there.
Yeah.
And also, to be fair, HBO Max also went through a recent merger with Discovery that isn't really going well over there. They removed a lot of content off of HBO Max, a lot of animation content specifically.
Okay.
So I want to take my bet and say Netflix would be where it's going, if it goes anywhere.
I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not even available on streaming platforms. Just like, hey, buy this. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised
like anywhere you can rent it, like Amazon, YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's either
I think it would
Netflix
make sense.
I
think it would make sense to go on Netflix just because how mainstream it is. Because Nintendo wants this to be as mainstream as possible. Right now, I'm just taking another look at like Bowser with the star. I think obviously the story is, hey, Bowser's collecting power stars in the different kingdoms. Mario better stop him. And there you go. But what's really cool here is that Bowser has tons of personality. Like, you look at the facial expressions, you saw his reaction to the penguins. Like, I'm really excited to see Bowser really fleshed out as a character. Like, that's kind of, like, the more I think about that, like, that's going to be cool. It's not going to just be, oh, me, Bowser, me, and you fight me at the end. Like, there's going to be a lot more to it than that. And it's not to say that Bowser hasn't had, like, additional characterization over the years. And I think what they did for him in Mario Odyssey was really cool. I think what they did for him in Mario Sunshine was really cool as well. Like, just see him kind of go in slightly different directions with the character. Like Bowser was trying to marry Peach. Like, that was his goal in Mario Odyssey, right? And then in Mario Sunshine, he was on vacation, but he wanted his son to take Peach and have him be inside his giant green jacuzzi at the end of the game. Like, just kind of like these weird sort of like side stories for Bowser that aren't just straight up about world domination. Like, it's like, hey, I just want to marry Peach, or hey, I just want this lady to be with me on vacation. Like, there have been things that have happened to Bowser over the years. I mean, I think one of the Mario and Luigi games, Bowser was one of the characters that played alongside of you, right? Like, So it isn't like we haven't seen him sort of taken out of his traditional role. He is going to be in his traditional role here, it seems, and that's probably a very safe thing to do. Like, actually also a good thing to do, because if this is going to be like the first, you know, big Nintendo movie / Mario movie specifically, you want to establish their primary roles before you sort of start to, you know, branch out a little bit, right? Like, imagine if they came out with the first Mario movie and Bowser was like, you know, dressed in a dress and pretending to be a princess. Like, that would be a very different look for Bowser.
Yeah, a little unorthodox.
Now, if that were to be a single joke at some point in this movie, though, that would be funny. But, like, if that was just, like, his main thing to, like, do that, or, you know, or be a good guy, for example, that would be weird, because that's not what Bowser is. Now, if there's a sequel and Bowser has to be the good guy because there's an even greater evil, let's go for it. But first movie, he needs to kind of establish what his role is in the overall series. But let's kind of move. I want to get some more shots of Mario here. That's a bigger deal to me. So, as a single frame, this might look weird because he's looking up, but, you know, in motion, it's different. Like, as you see, he kind of looks down. You can see he's more of a rounder, plumper face. Like, this is Mario. Like, I think this is fine. Now, this does also prove that leak from McDonald's was 100% true. But I also never thought it looked bad. Like, I think this is a good-looking Mario. It's obviously a different look, but we've never seen Mario in a CGI movie like this before. So, you know, I think they did a great job of it, honestly. Yeah,
it looks great to me.
Yeah, I have no problem with the look. And I mentioned it while we were watching the stream, but, like, people were kind of, like, when they first saw the poster, people have been talking about how, like, Mario's butt looks kind of flat. And truth be told, I actually do have a problem with that. Not because I need Mario to have the biggest, thickest, juiciest behind of all time. Yeah, I don't need him to have that. But if Mario is the jump man, right? From a sort of, like, logical perspective, you would think he has strong legs and also strong glutes, the butt. So if he has, like, this very, like, flat butt that almost seems like under his pants he has, like, toothpicks for legs and there's, like, no hip at all, that's kind of weird. Like, so obviously these aren't normal human proportions, but there is, even though it's animated, there has to be things that be done in a way where you can still suspend your disbelief, but there is a certain level of, hey, that doesn't work, you know? I'm not saying that's the case for Mario. In motion, I actually thought it looked fine. Oh, don't play the music. Oh, you know, I could just mute it, dummy. Oh, but they might still care about the video, too. Yeah. Videos usually, I mean, you play it 5-6 times, probably fine.
You want to take the chance?
I mean, I already took the chance.
No.
Oh, look at those shoes. I haven't seen the shoes from that angle before. Anyway,
he has actual laces.
Yeah, right? He has actual laces. There's a lot of detail here that you wouldn't expect. Yes, he has teeth, and in this single frame, he looks creepy as fuck. But but see, here he looks fine. Like, I have no problem with the teeth as long as it's subtle. Frame by frame, it's just kind of weird. I have no problem with him, though. Like, actually, I saw it on motion. I thought Toad was great. This looks like Mario. Like, this looks like how Mario would look in an animated movie. Like, this is it. And from this perspective, Mario looks great. From the butt side, well, it's fine. Although it'd be nice to see the butt side. I realize out of context how weird what I'm saying may be. Like, oh, I can't wait to see Mario from behind.
I can't. Everything I like about this movie anchors on his butt. I need to see his butt.
That's right. Yo, but take a look at this shot of the Mushroom Kingdom. This is crazy. This is what I want to see in an actual Mario game someday. Like, okay, it doesn't have to be that sprawling, but it's cool because there's a lead up, right? Like, there's all of these hills and there's different paths. Like, what they're conveying here is an actual huge, believable fantasy world, and that's awesome. See, look there's a cake. There it is. There it is. There's a cake, and guess what? It looks like a normal cake. It looks fine. There's no issue with this cake. He's great. In motion, when you look at things frame by frame, it's just like everything looks so different. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's fine. I think, jokes aside, this is a very good looking Mario model, and I just mean that objectively. That's it. I see I have a super chat here from Taker610. Thank you very much for the super chat, Taker. Taker says, his signature move is a butt stomp. How is he going to do that with no butt? Mario's face kind of makes him look young, maybe early 20s. So, I'm glad you brought that up, Taker. Not the butt part. That's fine. It was relevant. But the face part, or rather his age. What a lot of people don't realize is that Mario is not actually an old character. And I understand how this may be misconstrued, because if you go back to the original Mario Bros. Movie that Nintendo wants to write off from history, they use like a middle-aged man to play him. And when you see him in the games, you may make different connections. Like, especially with the very first game Mario was in, Jumpman Donkey Kong, like, you just see this guy in overalls, in girders, walking along girders. You would assume it works in construction, right? Which might lead you to think, oh, maybe he's middle-aged. Although someone working construction probably more likely is going to be younger. But anyways, the point is that I understand where people may be coming from with thinking he might be middle-aged. But Shigeru Miyamoto's actually told us that Mario's in his 20s. Like, he's in his mid-20s. He's actually like a young man. So seeing him here being depicted as someone who's in his 20s is actually... that's canon. Like, it comes from the father of Mario himself. Mario's in his 20s. So there you go. Obviously, people have interpreted things differently over the years and made different decades of Mario and iterations of Mario. But this is a youngish Mario, which kind of makes a lot of sense. Also, just saying, I think in terms of like just representing different looks and cultures, how often, like, just think about this objectively, Shifty, and guys in the chat. How often is there a movie, a big deal Hollywood movie, where the main character is a short, stubby young man with a thick mustache? Like, think about that. Like, that's typically not what you expect from a main character. But that's who he is. That's Mario.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of one now that you mentioned that.
No, like, it's rare to have a main character be a short, stubby Italian with a thick mustache. But that's what he is. And we love him. So, that's cool. And I want to get a good look at Luigi. This is crazy. I love that they put this, right? Because this is an allusion towards, like, Luigi's Mansion. Like, if I'm sure most of you know Luigi, like, he's usually is featured with some sort of horror element from the Luigi Mansion games. And here he is in a haunted forest getting chased by, I forgot the names, the Dry Bones. That's crazy. And by the way, in case you guys missed it, Charlie Day is playing as Luigi. I'm gonna play it for a second. I know I shouldn't, but I want to hear his voice again. That's all I need to hear. I heard that was it. That was Charlie Day. It fits. It works. Charlie Day is the guy from It's Always Sunny, by the way, the weird, funny one.
The one literally named after himself, Charlie.
Yeah.
It's funny too because
this is a weird look of Luigi. This is like, ugh. I think also the pixelization is not helping, but
yeah,
like, because Luigi's like taller than Mario, right? So like they make him taller, so he's like closer to like realistic human proportions, but not. I don't know. Luigi might look a little weird. You have to see more shots of him.
It might be because of the fact that we're looking frame by frame rather than seeing it in full motion.
Yeah, let me mute it. Hard to say. But I'm glad they at least showed off Luigi. So, like, I think the main point of showing off Luigi, that strengthens the notion of the title of the movie being Super Mario Bros. And not just Mario. So it's about the brothers, not just Mario. I mean, obviously Mario's going to be the main character, but Luigi's going to have a big role, and that's important. And actually, on that note of other characters, we did see a leak from the whole McDonald's leak thing where there's a poster out there, and I'm not going to share it because I think I've already messed too much with potential issues here. But
you're playing with fire.
I'm playing with fire. Technically, what I'm doing is 100% in the right. This is just a huge, like, weird issue with companies on YouTube.
Yeah, it might be.
It's
universal.
Yeah, it's 100% fair use. It's something I could fight, but it's like the algorithm like automatically like claims stuff, and then you have to fight it after the fact. But anyways, what was I gonna say? Peach. Yeah, there is a leaked poster out there that shows Mario, Toad, and Peach. And Peach, so we have a look of how Peach is going to look too. And the fact that she's showing off like that, I think that suggests that she's also going to have a sizable role in the story. I'm looking forward to hearing her voice as well. Now, her character is not played by a comedian. It's the girl from Queen's Gambit. I forgot.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yes, Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's a great actress. That's one of my favorite like actresses. But I haven't seen her in a comedic role.
Her work.
Watch Queen's Gambit, bro. It's amazing. It's on Netflix.
That's on Netflix, is it?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think I've seen the ads whenever I go on Netflix.
It's really good, dude. It's really good. It's basically about a girl who plays chess but is the best in the world at it. Yeah.
You know, looking at this cast, I feel, I think the only one I was pretty confident going in before seeing the trailer was kind of Charlie Day, because I feel something about the way Charlie Day's characters typically is in his roles, and then seeing Luigi.
He's a great secondary, like, humorous character.
Yeah, he fits that role really well. So I'm confident, even though I didn't hear a lot of them, I'm confident he's gonna do great in that.
And then with Chris Pratt, like, even though his voice may seem like a bit of a mismatch for people, who are you gonna pick? Firstly, but then secondly, when you think about the roles he's played, like he's a good comedic lead. You know, he's like for example in Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Like he's good at fitting into a humorous comedic environment, but still being like a heroic character. He's good at being that. So when you think about this movie, they want it to be like a lighthearted comedic adventure. So from that perspective, Chris Pratt's like a really good fit. And I think Charlie Day is like a really good counterpart to that. And then you have Jack, like, oh, this is just going to be like they have a really good cast. So, you know, it just kind of comes down to execution.
I still really need to see Seth Rogen as DK. Like that, we haven't seen that.
I am waiting for that. I am waiting for that. Now, I'm curious, because we haven't seen Donkey Kong or Peach yet. Also, we don't know if Yoshi is going to have any significant role either.
At least with Peach, we got to see her through a leak. At least see what she looks like.
Like,
right?
Is Donkey Kong going to even have like a significant role?
I'm going to assume they're going to give him a significant role, considering how they felt the need to advertise DK and Seth Rogen together. Like, they felt the need to do that. They didn't really go too crazy in advertising. I think Fred Armisen. I think that's I think he's playing Kamek, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right.
They mentioned it, but they didn't really treat it as like a. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of it in a different way, but I feel like if they have any big voice actors or celebrities, I guess, playing any of these characters, they would be advertising it like they are right here on the on the screen you're paused on. You know, so they would have it up there advertising it. So I'm going to assume DK is going to be relatively on screen a good amount. Maybe there's a scene where they have to go through the jungle to, I don't know, get to where Bowser is or something like that, and that's where DK comes in. Maybe he has a section of the movie where he's featured, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Not going to go on too long this stream. I think we're going to jump to questions now. Is there anything you want to sort of talk about before we just kind of go through some questions, Shifty?
No, I think the only thing I want to just add in is just,
Yeah.
I feel like before the trailer dropped, I was almost mentally prepared to see Twitter just ripping this movie apart and, critiquing it and whatnot.
Sure.
But I think this movie surpassed a lot of expectations because I have not seen too many of that. I've seen a few, but it is nowhere near as much negativity as I was expecting it to have.
Yeah. I honestly, to tell you the truth, I think they did about just as good as they could have with presenting this movie. I don't. It's one of those things. Like, it's a tough challenge, right? To get a game and make a good movie based off that game when the game was never designed around being a good movie kind of series, and to make that transition, it's very tough. And from what I've seen, I think they've done it just about as good as they could have. Like, yeah. So, if people are complaining, even if people are complaining, honestly, like, there was nothing that could be done. I think they did as good as they can. But from what you're saying, I mean, it seems like, and something based off the chat, like, no one in the chat's telling me, oh my god, this movie is shit. Like, everyone's kind of like, at least average to like excited. So, I think they did a good job.
Yeah, it seems mostly positive, which is, again, interesting because a lot of the memes or I guess internet conversation revolving around this movie before this trailer dropped, a lot of it was just jokes about obviously Chris Pratt being Mario, but also how people were expecting the movie to be bad or just not do well, right? And if I'm going primarily off of the reception I'm seeing on social media, it doesn't seem like people feel that way about this. Like, people are surprisingly impressed with what they're seeing here. Even though we saw a little bit of it, it seems to be positive, for the most part.
Yeah. If I have a criticism, it's not even a criticism. It's just, when it was done, I was like, oh, that's it? Okay. Well, I mean, they did tell us it was going to be a teaser. And I was teased. So, But, yeah, let's check in with the chat here. So Taker610 provided me with another super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat, Taker. And Taker says, has Peach ever had parents in universe? Yes. King Toadstool. I actually googled it real quick here. Apparently, King Toadstool hasn't been shown off in the games, but he's mentioned in the initial Super Mario Bros. Manual. So she has a canon father. So there you go. King Toadstool. And there's another thing. I don't know what his relation is, but there's in Mario Sunshine there is the old Toad. I don't know what his relation is to Peach. Toadsworth. He's Peach's longtime steward. So he's not necessarily family. But what's interesting though is that the Mushroom Kingdom is based off mushrooms, right? And they refer to the people as toads, even though they're not frogs. But Princess Peach is also known as Princess Toadstool. So, it's just kind of interesting. Like, you have the toads and you have Toadsworth. Like, it makes you wonder what the connection is there, right? I know that. So in New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, yes, that's a mouthful, and that is the name. They included a new power-up, if I remember correctly, and that was it turns Toadette into, like, basically Princess Peach. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And it was a weird thing that the internet took by storm, and every time someone gets a special crown that transforms them into Peach. But
yeah,
What's weird about that, right, is that it almost has this suggestion that like Toadette could like mature into a Peach-like character. So it makes you wonder, is like Princess Peach like the pinnacle of like maturity for Toad, you know? Like, is she like directly related? And that's just kind of like a weird sort of like thought. Like I think the truth is, it ain't that deep, bro. But there is like certain pieces of information or story taken from different games that you could sort of like use to suggest that all Toads are sort of like related, and the most mature Toad is the royalty. I don't think it's that deep, so I'm not gonna really buy into that. I also think if that's the case, what does that suggest for potential partners, like romance partners? Like, does Mario actually have a chance with Peach? Or does Bowser have a chance with Peach?
What would be the male equivalent?
Well, canonically speaking, technically there is the King Toad, but we've never seen him in a game.
And then there's Toadsworth, right? Who's really old, which still looks relatively the same as a regular Toad.
Yeah. I don't think my take is that whatever the canon was in the beginning wasn't probably super well thought out, and the answer is it ain't that deep, bro. That's the answer. Now, could there be a game in the future that kind of like delves deeper into this? Oh yeah, I mean they can do that. Heck, we may even see some things like that in this movie. They may tell us more about the background of Peach. We may learn about her character and what she has to do in the world. Maybe there is a king in this one, right? If she's Princess Peach, right? She's not Queen Peach. Think about that. She's Princess Peach. There's got to be a queen. There's got to be a king. Like, if there's a princess, there's usually there's usually something above that, right? We don't really see that looked into at all in the Mario games. We just assume that Princess Peach is it. But is she?
True. It could also tie into how exactly Mario meets Peach in the first place.
Yeah, and that's another consideration here that a lot of people are sort of jumping into. I've seen some people talk about this could be like an isekai, which is, from what I understand, basically like a character from the real human world gets transported into like a fantasy world. There is a little bit of that vibe. We saw Mario come out of a warp pipe, and then Toad just sort of like say, "Hey, let's go over here," or something. Like, I'm obviously like forgetting what they actually said, but something to that effect. Now the question is, was that how Mario met Toad? It didn't feel like it, so I have to wonder if he's seen him before, or maybe not. Maybe it is that awkward. You could argue that scene where we see Mario is almost not too different from the introduction of Mario in Mario 64. Now, hear me out here. That may seem a little crazy at first, but just hear me out. All right? Okay. All right. Don't do it. Don't copyright me, strike me. No. All right, look. All right. So, you see Mario. You see Mario just come out of a warp pipe, right? Is that what happened? Yeah, he comes. It's like a glowing warp pipe. Whoa. It almost looks like he's like turning from a real person into... I don't know if I like that.
Could barely make it out, but it is pipe shaped.
Yeah, it's weird. So this is not doing a good job of going frame by frame. All right. Yeah, but anyway, so the point I was trying to make is that Mario comes out of a warp pipe, right? And this is basically just like he's in some sort of mushroom wood. Ooh, that's like looks like ruins there. That's interesting. quite the mushroom. That's where where he came out of, that warp pipe. Obviously, I mean, you see that though. Like, obviously, warp pipes are like an actual like method of transportation here. Like, I don't know if it's like an ancient warp pipe that's never used, but I mean, there is a lot of like greenery on it, and it does look like kind of old, but it doesn't look like never used either. So I'm not sure.
You know, that one kingdom with the penguins did look kind of isolated compared to the Mushroom Kingdom, where they have like, actually no, both of them look kind of isolated compared to any other civilizations of any kind. So what if that's just their way of how to travel to different kingdoms? So just use the pipes that way, just like you would in the games. Yeah.
So I would like to think that Mario comes from New Donk City. Like, I don't need him to be. I really hope it's not like he comes from the real world. That would just piss me off. That would bother me. That would bother me if he comes from the real world. I hate that's just so over the top done. Like, if you're gonna make a movie like he's Mario, he's not from the real world. Make him from New Donk City. That's okay. Don't make it like real world New York, please. I don't want that. Don't do that. And also, don't make him like a real person either. Like, that's also dumb. Because then it's like, oh, is he ever going to go back, right? Like, no, he's Mario, okay? This is like an alien world to him, though, because he's looking around, he's like, what's going on? You see that, like, he's definitely, like, kind of new to this place. You see? Like, this is definitely new to him.
Yeah.
So, this is definitely an origin story. Yeah, which makes sense. You know, it's they want to kind of like reintroduce Marge to the world with the movie, and it's beautiful. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, everything about this movie visually looks great.
Yeah. Wow, it looks great. And then he meets Toad like right here. Like, it's very early on. Maybe this is just how he meets Toad. Like, this is it. Which is kind of strange. We'll need some more context, but there may not be any more context. I do think this is not the first time we see Mario, though. We see him before the warp pipe. So, and I think this Toad, I bet you, like, it's just like an eccentric Toad. Like, he might be. Maybe this is Toad before he becomes Captain Toad, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he already has, like, a backpack on with stuff with him.
Yeah. Like, why is he not with their other Toads in the Mushroom Kingdom?
Why is he this far away from the kingdom?
Right. Yeah, why? There's something off about him. And maybe at first Mario's just like, okay, whatever. But then over time, you know, he's like... we learn like there's gonna be some character development for this Toad. Something else to note here: this is where Mario is. We know Luigi is in the movie because the last shot has Luigi in there. Why isn't Luigi here? If this is the first time Mario's in the Mushroom Kingdom, how do they bring in Luigi? You know. So again, it goes back to what I said initially. We don't really know how this story is gonna come together. Yes, it looks like. You know, like, this is like an origin story for Mario, at least in terms of getting introduced to the Mushroom Kingdom. But how does Luigi brought into play? What's happening with this Toad character? Does he become Captain Toad? Or the dynamics of Princess Peach, you know? I think seeing the warp pipes, I like your point there, Shifty, that could be how they go from one kingdom to another. But there's something about this warp pipe that doesn't seem to be too used, right? Like, he looks like we're kind of in some sort of very wild mushroom area. Like, it's not like a very populated area. So right. I wonder how used this warp pipe is. And maybe it was even blocked off at some point.
It could be a situation where Mario's probably one of the first in a long time to have used that pipe at all.
I think so.
Yeah, and I could see a situation where maybe Luigi ends up kind of like following him because, I don't know, he's worried about his brother that just kind of disappeared into a pipe.
Could be, yeah. I mean, that was kind of my first thought too. You know, he just eventually follows him.
Yeah, he just follows him, and I guess he would get lost, or maybe he bumps into like the Koopa Troop before like being able to get to the Mushroom Kingdom or anything like that. Just something that changes his direction that Mario didn't experience.
Yeah, I don't know. It's possible that maybe they both went to Warp Pipe together, but it took them to different kingdoms. Maybe. It took Luigi to the Haunted Kingdom while Mario goes to the Mushroom Kingdom. Or Luigi ends up there way later.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to see how they put this all into the story. Like, how is Mario and Toad connected? Like, what, Luigi and then Donkey Kong. Like, they got a lot of moving parts here. We know Cranky Kong's in this movie too, so they got a lot of characters. There's some cool stuff. The point I was gonna make earlier is that this is not too different from the Mario 64 scene. Obviously, it's like way fleshed out, but like Mario appears in a warp pipe in this world, and the castle is before him, and then the story ensues. Like, that's pretty much the only point I was making there. It's obviously a little different because there's a Toad guiding you, and there's a whole bunch of mushrooms, but it's similar. But let's go through the chat real quick before we close things out. Big man, Andre's gonna do a 2-hour deep dive on the 30-second Mario movie teaser. You betcha. I mean, we've been on for an hour 15 minutes, so you know, I'm closing out soon here. If you at me, it's easier to get to it. Debus, it looks like this is gonna be an origin story isekai. Yeah, we're on the same page with that one. Part of me doesn't want that to be the case because I feel like it's a little predictable, but you know, just because it's an origin story where they get popped to another world, it's not necessarily bad. I just hope that the initial world isn't a real world; it's just another kingdom that was connected by a warp pipe, and that's it. Maybe it's like, you know, again, New Donk City. I think is like the best thing they should do.
What if they decide to keep it vague?
Like, we don't even know where he's from?
Yeah, like maybe they just refer to home as, home, and that's it. But they don't really, they don't get too specific as to where home is, necessarily.
Do we even see it?
Maybe not. Maybe not. What if that's their answer to it? If they don't know if they want to have a real world situation or use New Donk City, maybe the answer is to just keep it vague. You know, is there a reason why we need to know where he's from? I mean, the adventures in the Mushroom Kingdom, right? That's the focus. So,
well, I guess it's, I don't know. I don't see that. I don't see it starting off with that scene we just see here where he comes out of the warp pipe. I feel like there's something before.
I'm sure,
but it doesn't. But also, it doesn't have to be. To your point, it doesn't have to be home. It could be something else. Right?
Yeah.
There could, like, what is the inciting incident? We don't know what that is yet.
Right. It could, I mean, there could literally be a beginning where maybe it's Peach or some kind of Toad in the castle talking about Bowser doing what he's doing and that they might need a hero to save them. And then suddenly, oh, look, Mario flies out a tunnel, and they keep his origins vague, right? Like, that's something they could do. I mean, if you want to, I mean, technically, it's mostly because of, I would assume, limitations on the NES, but I mean, technically, they do say, was it Brooklyn in the original games, but they don't really have Brooklyn as like a main location to explore and look around in a Mario game.
Yeah.
It's there, it's mentioned, but it's relatively...
I mean, New Donk City is more like Manhattan, if anything.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think it's, like, they could either do New Donk City, or it's possible they go the vague route.
I don't know. That's gonna be interesting to see. Like,
yeah.
The other thing is that, to point out, is that this might be just like the initial Mario Bros. Movie done right. So I want to point something out here. The title, if I can find it. There we go. All right. So notice the like metallic letters, the super and movie parts. So if I pull up the initial Super Mario Bros. Like the not initial, like I mean the first technical Mario Bros. Movie, even though again it's like should not exist, but no, not Mario Bros. 2023. Mario Bros. The Darkness Ensues.
Bob Hoskins, Mario.
Okay, here we go. All right, so you guys should hopefully you guys can see that on stream. I think you'll be able to. Yeah, so like you look there, there's like that metallic logo look, right? You could argue that they're trying to make some soft mention to that, because I mean, why else go with like the metal look, you know? It's interesting that they did that. It's not exactly the same. You could say it's just a coincidence, but I wonder. Now, does that mean that like they are like, hey, yeah, that movie was great? No, it doesn't. That movie is why this is the first time we're getting an actual Nintendo movie in so long, because they took this Nintendo brand and they bastardized it to Kingdom Come. It was a poor representation of the series. And this, in contrast, it looks like is going to be a great representation of the series. And then Nintendo's very controlling of their IP. So that's why they've taken so long to make movies, because they don't want to misrepresent their series. They don't want to just hand it off to some Hollywood producer and then they don't even play the game. They just want to make money, and then they just put something out there that was very Hollywood but not very whatever that game is. So that's why it's taken so long. But what's interesting about this movie is that we're talking about how like it's like almost like Mario comes from like a different realm. In the initial Mario movie, they came from New York and they were thrown into this random underground world, and Bowser was causing trouble. The Koopa King was causing trouble. Now, the way it was done was kind of weird and bad, but I'm talking smack here. But as a hardcore Nintendo fan growing up, when I saw that, I thought it was cool. But it is objectively a terrible movie, and it is also objectively a terrible representation of what the Mario series is, because it doesn't really represent it at all. But it's just basically, oh, that guy's called Mario, he's wearing red? Okay. Oh, there's a green dinosaur? Okay, that's Yoshi. Oh, there's a mean man that has weird makeup. I guess that's Bowser. Like, that, you know, it was terrible. But
yeah.
Anyways, the point is that it seems like there's a little bit of similarity in terms of it's an isekai, right? It's a you're come from the real world and you're thrown into a fantasy world like that. There does seem to be some similarity there. We don't know where Mario's actually coming from though, and I'm really hoping it's not just the real world. That would be a travesty of justice. That's just my opinion, and it's the correct opinion. But
there's only one opinion that matters here,
everyone. And it's mine. I mean, obviously, you know, it's an opinion, so I could be wrong, or you know, it's just different opinions are there. But I really hope it's like either like New Donk City or maybe just in a different place altogether. Like, throw me for a loop. If we do see where he's from, and it's not like a New York like environment, but obviously like a more fantasy version of it, then, like, you know, I don't know, like, where something new, go for it, surprise us. That, I think that would be cool.
Yeah. I mean, they could definitely go that route. I'm leaning towards it's going to be either vague or it's just going to be a cartoony version of the same city. Because you could just say Brooklyn, but I mean, it's probably just going to look like Brooklyn, but everyone has Mario proportions.
Yeah. I don't know. They may not, to your point, they may not even want to go in that direction just because they don't want to even think about, like, having to, like, make that, you know? And have to plan and game plan what that environment would be in relation to this movie. Like, maybe they show just, like, his room or, like, his apartment building, like inside of it. Like, they don't show the outside part. So maybe, like, you'll just see, like, a frame where it shows the window, and you might be able to see some buildings, but you won't see enough to really understand what it is. You like enough to, like, suggest, to be suggestive, but not enough to where, like, they have to fully flesh out the idea.
I guess enough to show that it's a city, right? Like a city that we could look at it and go, okay, that's a modern city.
Yeah.
Right? Compared to seeing ice castles and Bowser's moving castle and mushrooms everywhere, like that sort of thing.
But like, I don't think like it would be weird if, like, let's say like it's Mario, like Mario's like plumbing in someone's house and he walks out, comes home, and then falls into his TV.
Yeah,
it's actually like how are they going to handle that too? Like that's going to be interesting. Like what is going to cause Mario to get into this world? Which is why I actually honestly hope he's part of this world. I hope it's just a different kingdom that's just disconnected.
That'd be interesting, but it also makes me think, if that's the case, are the kingdoms just unaware of the other kingdoms? If that's the case, because he seems so surprised by the way the world looks.
Yeah, it's definitely new for him. It's an experience,
right? Yeah. So if it's a situation where he's from another kingdom, then would that mean that the kingdom he comes from is just totally unaware of the existence of other kingdoms?
Maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of questions, right? Like that's tough. That's tough. It's hard to say. Big man, it could start the bros off just on being on vacation. What if they were? What if they were on vacation and they just fell in a work pipe and everything went awry?
Maybe. I think there's a lot of different ways of doing
it. There's honestly so many different directions. Like they could be both on a bus trip. They're going on vacation and they could be talking about their plumbing life, and there may be like some sort of like suggestion towards like some sort of issue they have, and then that issue is addressed in their character arcs in the movie. And then the bus crashes and they fall down a hole, and then they're in the Mushroom Kingdom.
It could be as simple as just Mario walking down the street and falling down a manhole, and it just ends up being a pipe, essentially. There's a lot of different ways of doing it, honestly, and I feel like anything other than showing Mario in a hyper realistic looking city would be the only thing I'm against, honestly.
Yeah, what's interesting though, if they were to kind of like allow New Donk City or something to that effect and be a part of it. What if they have to go back to get help, and that's where they bring in Donkey Kong? I kind of got the idea from Adalia Gonzalez, because they said actually it has to be New Donk City because they will have Donkey Kong and maybe Cranky Kong. Like, what if that's where Donkey Kong is at? And they make reference to how in the past Mario had to give him a good thrashing to save I was gonna say Palutena. I mean not Rosalina. Pauline. Thank you. It was the P that was throwing me off. But yeah, Pauline. I don't think they'll have Pauline in this movie though, but they can maybe reference that, the original like Donkey Kong, which is also the original game for Mario. I could see that.
Yeah, I could see a situation too where Mario goes to Donkey Kong for help, and it's just like, oh yeah, man, we go way back. We're old friends, and that sort of thing. And
yeah,
from there. I don't know.
And Cranky Kong be like, I don't like that guy, alluding to that he's the actual Kong from Donkey Kong. But
then it puts into question, how old is Mario again, doesn't it?
It does, but they're also a different species. But also to that point, what if there was a previous Mario?
I think we're going in too deep.
We are. I think at this point we're just pulling at random details. But that's all for now. Guys, thanks for coming by. If you could leave a like, that'd be greatly appreciated. We'll definitely be talking more about this on Monday night for the actual podcast. So stay tuned for that. There will be videos coming out still for the week. So stay tuned for that for as well. And yeah, man, this was a good start to the big marketing lead up for this movie. I think it's going to be good. So yeah.
I'm with you there. I'm very impressed with what I saw so far.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, check out Shifty's channel. It's linked in the description below. Okay? All right. See you later. Take care.
Later.